Oh, well, hello, everyone. Just gonna adjust myself a little bit. Mm-mm-mm-mm. All right, well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. So, if you are unfamiliar with this program, this is the program where we like to talk that real talk about things in education, employment, health, mental health, finance, social services, or anything else that is steamy. I am ex- I am excited about this topic because I forgot a banner, but I'm excited about this topic because I have a repeat guest with me, and whenever I have a repeat guest, I am so excited. So I'm just gonna put this banner here. All right, so let's get right to it. I'm excited about this topic. I know I say that in every episode, but I am excited about this particular topic because, whew, excuse me, this is an opportunity to talk to the parents out there. And with that said, today's topic is I got to say this word slowly, empowering parents. Okay, so there's a prior episode about empowering homeschool parents, but today this episode is going to be addressed to all parents in all walks of life. So this episode is going to be about empowering all parents. So that is our topic for today. And I have a repeat guest with me who is going to help me with this discussion. I'm excited to bring her back and bring her back to the hot seat. Her name is Claudia Wodowitz, and I can't wait to bring her back on and chit chat with her. So let's get right to it. So I'm going to remind you about who she is. So, who is Claudia Wodowitz? And I'm going to remind you about who she is. So, Claudia Wodowitz is a proud mother of two amazing young men, Jacob and Joshua, and her dog, Chewy. Jacob Wodowitz is her son. He was actually a former guest on our Hot Topics as well. So, this is a family show. She recently relocated to Charleston, South Carolina from Port Washington, Long Island, about a year ago. On top of juggling motherhood, career wise, Claudia has a diverse background of experience from advanced formal education to many achievements. Claudia has founded and owned her own business of personal shopping and styling, serving some of the country's music stars as well as private clients. Claudia then held a position with the Department of Human Services and Adult Probation while simultaneously operating her business. She is educated in the fields of hotel restaurant management, culinary arts, business administration, and art history. On top of all that, Claudia is fluent in four international languages. Claudia has dedicated her free time to giving back to her local community. In New York, she was a volunteer with several organizations, including the United Jewish Federation, Hope Foundation for Domestic Violence, local EMS on the ambulance, and the Medical Reserve Corps. She has also volunteered in several fundraising opportunities within the nonprofit sector. Since being in South Carolina, Claudia has been involved with the HBO series The Righteous Gemstones as a background actor. Fabulous. All right, so I'm going to bring her to the stage without further ado.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Yeah, so a wealth of experience in that biography.
A little bit of diversity, but
Yes.
nice to keep your eggs all passed around in different baskets, so to speak.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about empowering parents today. And you brought this topic to me. So I'm looking forward to probing you about it. So, as we did the last time, I'm going to just hand over the baton to you. And please go ahead and share your perspective on, what parents need to know.
Well, fantastic. Thank you again for having me. And to start off, I'd like to say that, through my years of parenting, I've learned different aspects and maneuvered in different, types of situations with both of my kids. But I've always tried to focus on praising the effort as opposed to the result, because I think that it gives kids just the continued knowledge of understanding that as long as you put in the effort, that there's always going to be a win for that. It's a self gratitude as opposed to always knowing that you're going to get a medal or place or some sort of final achievement. It's also about self worth, and I've really instilled that as much as possible so that they in turn can go on in the future, whether it's personal or job related or in a friendship group or anything like that. That you're just praising the effort as opposed to what the final result is for each one of my kids. And then just recently, my oldest one, who went away for the first time for a job at and moved away from home. I've also reinstilled another type of mentality, which is I've told both of them, when you are going into different situations, especially job related, ask yourself one question, and that question is, would I hire myself as whatever position, a boss, a friend, a neighbor, a father, or a sales associate, or anything that you would do, or would I recommend myself to be X individual? And you can fill in the blank to that scenario. And if you say to yourself that you would do that and recommend yourself, then that is that self value. But if you say no, or you look at yourself and say, no, I don't think I would recommend myself for that position, then ask yourself why. Why wouldn't you recommend yourself? Because I think it's always important that you go out for a job and you make that job, that position that you're going to hold at that job, that you are irreplaceable. Because if you have that relationship with that customer, you are going to be so important that you are extremely valuable, that you're not going to be irreplaceable. And I say, what's the point of going out and working for so many years for someone else so that in turn you are the one that has the heart attack and you have no positive end result for yourself? Always make yourself irreplaceable. And then that time and that place, that you will always find self-worth and fulfillment in whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that's always important. And last but not least is just be completely supportive of any idea or any kind of situation that your child is in, because I think that as adults we and I'm guilty as charged, have a tendency of pushing so hard or asking for them to go that extra mile, because we know it's the best or think it's the best for what's for their future. But at the end of the day, they themselves have to find happiness. They have to find fulfillment in what it is they're doing so that they are happy and secure in whatever it is that they choose, direction that they choose to go in. And that's pretty much, been my whole basis of motivating both of my kids to be able to be where they are today, um, in whatever it is that they enjoy doing, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. So you brought up a few things. So you brought up positive reinforcement. So when they do something well, you show them praise, congratulate them, you acknowledge the good works. You also brought up self-worth and self-reflection and examining yourself and your characteristics. And then you also brought up. Trying to see how to phrase it.
Making yourself irreplaceable.
Yeah, making yourself irreplaceable, standing out. So, in regards to the like the praise and the positive reinforcement, were you were you one of those parents where, if if a child lost, you would still say good job, or like if there was a race and your child lost a race, would you still say, oh, you did a great job, great effort, you tried, or are you like, you lost, try again next time? So I'll start with that scenario. Something like if there was a race and your child lost and your child was crying, how would you respond to something like that?
Um, Most of the time it wasn't, oh, you lost. It was, them personally saying, oh, I didn't score as many points as someone else, or I didn't come in first place, or it was more as, how do you feel? Do you feel that the training or the time that you put in was what brought you to this end result? Or how do you think, if you're not comfortable with where you are right now, however that placement may be or the time may be. My oldest one was a swimmer, so it was more about time and technique. And Jacob was a rower, so it was more team related kind of scenarios. But at the same time, is again, I praised effort of, wow, that was a lot of time that you trained for this. Now, how would you do things differently, going into your next meet or going into your next competition? It was more conversations like that, as opposed to, oh, I didn't come in first place, because I've always felt that, it's important to have them understand that, not everyone is going to get a medal or a ribbon. Just like in life, not everyone gets a paycheck. So you have to work according to what your end result for yourself and your goals are. So if you want that higher paycheck, these are the steps that, we need to do, or we need to work together, or you need to work on to get to that end result. Just like, if you're a swimmer and you need to, shave off some times off your, distance swims or your laps, then, you have to put that extra time and effort into training. So it's like anything else. It's more about praising the effort, as opposed to, hey, I know you particularly lost, because at the end of the day, your times may have not been where you wanted them to be, but you worked so hard that you were at least able to, finish that meet, or come in place general, or not place at all, but your self placement for yourself, because they've seen me do that, where I've run races and maybe I wasn't doing the time that I wanted, but I succeeded and I accomplished that bucket list, or I accomplished that, that 10K or the 5K or whatever it was I was doing at the time. So it's about accomplishing what you set out to do. And that's more the direction that I've gone with them, as opposed to, oh, you personally didn't get first place, or you didn't place, or you lost. As far as the crying end of it, I have to say that with either one of them, I haven't experienced that type of situation, because I think what we've always spoken about, it's always being a team effort or conglomerate for, a group, that it's not about being first place. It's about just having fun and going out and, making an effort at whatever it is that they were doing.
So you're more of the to you acknowledge the effort that they put into the race. So it's not the fact that maybe they didn't win first place, or or the fact that they didn't win a medal. It's the fact that they put the effort and they tried and they trained for it. You would acknowledge that and say, hey, you did a lot of work to get here. Let's see where we can improve.
Absolutely. And ironically enough, just to get to that topic, um, yesterday I happened to run into an individual who kind of gave me some really interesting words of advice that she had occurred with her son, that she pushed and pushed and pushed him so hard that, I mean, he got every accolade available. I mean, except at the Carnegie Mellon, he had the best, piano, concerto, and his posture was amazing, and his arms and his hands, the way he was, playing was absolutely phenomenal. And that somebody said to him, "Wow, you excel at everything you do, but you don't have a heart." And that led her to kind of step back and say, she was always asking when the son came home and said, "Oh, I got a 95 on this, or I got a 97." And she was like, "Well, where's my other 3 points, or where's my other 5 points? Why didn't you get 100?" And, that really shed some light as to, my whole thinking of how I've been a very, strict parent, because I think that whether you have teenagers or young men, that it's always important to kind of create a path or a direction that you might feel is right. But she really shed some light as to, oh wow, here's this individual that has had so many accolades and so, play so beautifully, but didn't have a heart, and that what that meant, in the sense that you could see that this young man was lacking passion for what he was doing. And I think that that's really important, because at the end of the day, it's their life, and it's their happiness that we want as an end result. And sometimes as parents, we forget to look at the emotional, mental aspect of it, as opposed to, just always winning first place. Because what's there to achieve if you win first place all the time? Like, what would be the next goal that you have for yourself, or what's the next either 1 year goal or 5 year goal, 10 year goal for yourself, if you've always won first place? Then you don't have a chance to acknowledge that, sometimes you're not going to win first place, but you can be happy, you can be fulfilled. And that's what's, I think, most important takeaway from all of this, is that, is understanding self-worth. And right now, for the younger generation, for sure, just the social media and of, everything is just photoshopped and polished, and everything looks so wonderful, when that's not the reality. And I think that they have even more of a strive to be better than what they're seeing on this particular screen all the time, that it enhances for them to even think that they're not as valued, or they don't have what it is that they need to offer, because they see someone else that portrays a better look, so to speak. So that's also, another importance to take into consideration in this day and age. But definitely, just, balance again is key, like we spoke about, in the last interview. But just understanding that self-worth and success comes in different packages.
And to that, to add to that, it also has to be modeled as well. So for a parent who is always pushing their child to, to get that 95, to get that 100, to get that first place trophy, it's like, I feel like we have to look at the parent and say, why do you want that so much for your child? Not, why do you want your child to be first place instead of your child being happy? Um, so to that end, I'm wondering what you think about the fact that it's the parents are the one pushing that mentality, is to be the best, to be the best, to be the best, and we have to look at the parent and say, well, why do you want the best? Like, why is that so important to you? The fact that they have to be first place, they have to go to Ivy League, they have to be the top of their class. So what what is it about those things that the parents want so much, as opposed to their child just being happy?
Well, I think society has imposed quite a bit of that. I know that we were raised by saying, I mean, I came from a very strict household, but, it was always, oh, if you don't go to school and you don't study, you're not going to get a job. You're not going to get a good paying job, which, that was back, 20 something, 30 years ago. But now, it's a different scenario. We've seen so many people that have different ideas, gone out there and made a lot of money and created different things with, leaving college or not going to college at all. But, again, I think as parents or as a society have been instilled in us, like we try to instill into our kids that, in order to be happy, you have to have all these materialistic things, or you have to have all these trophies, or you have to have certain things. And I think that now we've seen the difference between that and understand that it's not about all that. It's not all those things are always a guaranteed happiness. I think, family time and enjoying friends and having a good circle of, a support system is also a good, form of creating happiness that in turn is a snowball effect to wanting for you to become a better person or a better member of society and helping others. But, I do I'm guilty as charged, just because, again, we think that in order to be happy, we have to be at a certain level or at a certain, type of, not necessarily the 1%, but because that's what we want for our kids. I think it's always been instilled that we want, better than what we had, or we're going to work harder to give them more than what we were able to get. So I think that's overall the mentality. But at the same time, I've, again, through different, scenarios, have seen that, every child is different. Everybody needs, different nurturing. And I just feel that sometimes pushing too hard cannot have the same end result that you may originally want for your child. Because I mean, at some point they do leave and they go out to the world and they realize that maybe that's not what makes them happy. So if it's possible to allow them to kind of see different scenarios and figure out what's their niche and what's going to really make them happy, or even if they know what the definition of happiness is. Because I can honestly say I went through different times in my life where I thought I was happy, but I look back and I'm like, was that really happy? Or is that really what the definition of happiness is? Or was I just, pretending to be happy or assuming this is what happiness was? So again, it's all a self-perception type situation.
So now, what do you say to those parents that say, um, this is how I grew up, this is how I was raised, and so I'm going to raise you the same way? Like they're going to replicate those family patterns and um, to teach, to raise the child how they were raised, as opposed to acknowledging that, it's a different generation and it's a different time, or maybe your child may be different from you. So what do you say to those parents that say, well, I was raised the same way? So what do you say to those?
I say, been there. I say it's up to us to cut the cord. I say take what you learned from your parents, put it in perspective into this day and age. And also remember when your parents or our parents were telling us to do certain things and we would say, no one does that anymore, that's antiquated, or that happened to you, or, when they would say, oh, I walked, 10 miles barefoot in the snow, which we all know they didn't do that. But at the end of the day, it's just a formality to say this is how hard I worked, or when I came to this country I only had $50 in my pocket, or $10. But as times have changed and times have evolved, I think it's important to put those teachings and learnings into this day and age, because some things will work but other things will not work. So it's really important to try to put them in perspective, because again, I'm guilty of saying and doing the same thing, but in certain scenarios I take what I felt was good, that now I see as a good end result as an adult, as a mother, as a parent, and say, okay, this is what was important and this is where I'm taking it. And then look back in time and remember, you're dealing with a different generation. So again, put that into perspective, because that's what's most important. Because I think that also, trying to replicate it doesn't always give the end result that as a parent I think you're trying to give, because there's going to be so much pushback on onto what you're trying to say. So again, it's about praising the effort as opposed to the result of saying, hey, I've noticed that you've put in time to study. Is it something you don't understand, or is it something that you need help with? But if that's the best they can give you, then they're doing the best that they can. We can't, expect or do anything more. So again, it's about putting this day and age in perspective, taking what our parents or our older generations gave us, and then trying to reformulate that into this day and age so that it is a positive result.
Okay. So the second point you brought about with the self-worth. So not only are you, like that example you gave with your first son, not only you're teaching him to to look at, to examine himself, to examine his attributes and his qualities, but also to be able to distinguish between the qualities that you think are employable and the qualities you think are not employable. So can you talk more about why is it so important um, for children to self-reflect, and also, so I guess it's two different questions I'm asking you. So I'll start off with one. So why is self-reflection so important?
Because I think that when we're out on a day to day, we have a tendency of being very judgmental. So again, it's about how how we perceive others and how we feel others will perceive us. And that's when I say, when you get up and you're going to that job or that interaction, would you recommend yourself? And meaning, what is it that you're looking for in this particular position? If you were on the other side of the table and you wanted to deal with a customer service agent, with a manager, with just a sales associate, whether it's front of the house, back of the house, or blue collar, white collar, whatever the position may be, what are your expectations so that you feel that you've been taken care of as a customer? What would be your complaints so that you in turn look back and say, hey, I wouldn't act like that, or I wouldn't, react to someone like that, or I wouldn't have those, type of rebuttals. So would you recommend yourself for those positions? So that's what I would pretty much say is, take time to really look at yourself before you go out and expect others to do. Again, that's another point, as I say to them, do not ever ask someone to do something that you're not willing to do. Um, Take out the trash, roll up your sleeves, clean up, organize, whatever it is that you as a manager, or even not as a manager in a position, if you're requesting someone else, a coworker or a team member, to do something, give the example first. Make sure that they know that you're willing to do those things as well.
So now with self-reflection, you have to be able to tell the difference between positive qualities and negative qualities. So how do you teach your children the difference between the two?
It's more cause and effect. So it would be if, there were scenarios where they, had a position or a job or did something and would come home and say, oh, so and so complained, or so and so, acknowledged my accomplishments. And you say, okay, well, this is what I was talking to you about, or this is the example that I gave you, as far as, how does that make you feel? How do you value yourself in that type of scenario? Are you happy that, whatever it was that you did, whether you moved somebody, or you raked the leaves for somebody, or you took out their trash, and they acknowledged you and gave you a compliment, how did that make you feel? And kind of go on from there.
So it's so basically you you want them to judge by others' reactions. So, there's a whatever behavior or action that they do, whatever the response is, you want them to think like, do I want that response again?
Yes and no, to be honest with you, because it's not so much, oh, if I get a negative response and I'm not going to do this anymore. It's, how did it make you feel? How did that response make you feel? How did their actions make you feel? If you were going to, and not internalizing things always, but if it made me feel good, okay, what about that made you feel good? It made you feel good because you provided a service, or because you made someone happy, or were able to just help someone out in general. I think that as human beings, we have emotions. Not all of us show them, the same way, but it's about giving them the self-worth of what that feeling is of making someone else feel good. And when I say feel good, it doesn't necessarily mean warm and fuzzy inside. It's, you put a smile on someone's face, or, they actually said thank you, or thanks for your help, or that would be great, or posted, on social media that you did a great job moving them, or that you did a great job helping them out and you would recommend them. So again, that's wow, I did something that, made someone else happy, or gave them, a better scenario for them to look at the younger generation and not always think, all kids are self-entitled, which there are quite a few out there, and it's unfortunate. But at the same time, there are other, young adults that, do work hard for what they want and what they have. So again, it's about just, understanding what that self-worth means to them, because I think that that's very important, to have that cause and effect, so that you understand, the give and take of just human relationships or human contact.
So it's more about how it made them feel. So whatever the response was to a particular behavior that they did, it's more about how they made them feel, and more would they want to feel that way again?
Absolutely. That's, and again, it's personal. As a parent, it's personal, because I think that, again, it goes back to, you know we can live, I don't know, 10 years next to our neighbor and not even know what their name is. So again, it's about creating relationships. It's coming in contact with other people on a day to day, because it's important. I think we all like to feel good, or we all like to, have a good day. It doesn't always happen, but we all like to have that sense of, some sort of fulfillment. I would hope. I would hope, especially in this day and age.
Okay. And the last point, how did you phrase that again? The
Um, as far as making yourself irreplaceable.
Yes, yes, that. So tell us more about that. So when you say irreplaceable, you're talking about making yourself stand out, making yourself unique.
Very much so. Not necessarily standing out, because you can also be irreplaceable and fly under the radar, but meaning that you not that you have that job or that position that it is that you really have worked so hard to attain, that at the same time, you have to make yourself valuable, make yourself irreplaceable, in the sense that you're not going to slack off just because you got this high paycheck, or you got this position that you really wanted. You have to keep giving that effort. You have to keep striving in that position. It's not just once you get it, you just sit back and you're in Club Med or you're on vacation. It's continue to put in that effort, continue to put in the time, and make yourself irreplaceable, so that you don't lose that position that you have, or have someone else come in behind you and take it over because you decided to show up late, or to not show up to work, or to not do or fulfill all your expectations that were required of you when you first got the job or position that you're in.
Oh, so you mean like make yourself in a way where people won't fire you, or people won't resent you, or people won't uh, put someone else in your place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And always, of course, act accordingly, be respectful, be, of, not just, your customers, but your teammates and your superiors and just anybody that you work with. Just be respectful. And, again, it's always about living by the golden rule.
Right, that treat others as you want to be treated.
Absolutely.
So now, does it also, so I know we're talking a lot about jobs. Does it also depend on the type of job? So I know there's some jobs that are like stricter in like code of conduct. There's other jobs that are maybe not as strict. So does it depend on the type of job and the type of environment?
I say no. I say do it, be consistent, because consistency is key. I mean, I think it's important it's not, I know we've talked about jobs, but I think it should be the same in anything that you do. It's just be consistent and just do right by yourself, and do right for what you stand for and what your beliefs are. And, at the end of the day, I think that, the end result will be what the effort is that you put in for it. But I think if you put it into day to day, I think that it can be a very positive result.
And how do you do that? How do you, I mean, in order for a child to be consistent, of course, they have to learn it. It has to be modeled for them. So how do you teach consistency?
How did I personally teach it? I mean, I think I started from a very young age, which is, again, the whole cause and effect. Whether it was putting together a Lego set and getting frustrated, or, playing on a team with other teammates, or, um, having a spelling bee at school, or, forgetting a jacket, and having to go to Lost and Found and it's your favorite coat and you didn't find it. Or not having your homework that you brought into school. I mean, just day to day in life and different kinds of experiences, is pretty much how I personally taught it. And then, if they would bring up a comment or talk about, oh, so and so did this, or so and so had this experience, or if it, was an interaction on a TV show or something that they heard, then, it was about using that and formulating into, um, the cause and effect, at the same time. But I think it's a daily challenge. I'm not saying that I have every, result that I've ever wanted and everything. But again, I think it started at a very young age, and that was what was most important, was just taking different examples and different opportunities or different scenarios that we were all in, either, alone or as a family, or just, them at school, and just using those as learning experiences.
So now, what do you do if you you raise your child a certain way, but then the child ends up going another way, and they prefer to go that other way? What do you do when your child has opposing views, or I don't want to say conflicting, more like I guess opposing views, or they take different views, different from the way that you try to raise them? How do you support that? Do you not support that? Or I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what does a parent do when the child is going a different way that maybe they don't approve, or something like a boyfriend they don't like. They don't like the boyfriend, they don't like the girlfriend, something like that. So what do you do if the child is going a way that you don't necessarily approve?
Okay, so good question. Um, what I would say now, as opposed to what I did, um, is I would say reverse psychology, is key. But I mean, yeah, we've had our moments where, we always want what we think is the best, or what that person is, is she going to love my child, is she going to take care of him, is if it's a boyfriend girlfriend type scenario. Of course, we always look out for that. But I think, again, it's important that they find out what it is they like in a person, what makes them happy. So, I've come to realize that I try to have as much open dialogue as possible. And if it's something that I see that I personally don't approve of, I might bring it up and say, oh, so what about, this person makes you feel like, they make you happy, or what do you enjoy about them? And oh, well, I noticed that they, were upset with you about certain things that you said or did. How does that make you feel? So I really try to have them step outside of the relationship or the scenario and kind of look in, like an outsider looking into a box, and say, what would you see in this situation? How would you handle this situation if you saw someone else interacting with this person, or if you saw this type of scenario? So I have learned to allow them to make their own kind of critiquing and decision making, because that's the only way that they're going to learn. And of course, we want the best for them, or what we think is the best for them. But if they're going, if it's dire, direction that it's going to cause them harm, of course, I definitely step in full force. But if it's something that, whether it's a job, or whether it's a relationship, or whether, it's, having a group of friends, is really just understanding that, what about that scenario do you think is correct? Or how do you see anything that is not maybe the most appropriate, or that will maybe get you in trouble, or may not, be the result that you want from this situation or this relationship. But again, I've learned through the process that, the more you push back, the more that they're going to push back. So it's really important for me to have a relationship with my kids, and to have an open dialogue, and that we try to discuss things, because it's important for me to also understand, again, where they're coming from, because what makes them happy is not necessarily what's going to make me happy, and vice versa. So that's also, again, about understanding what, their process is, and why they're choosing what they choose to do. And sometimes they have very good responses, and other times, not so good, or haven't been thought through. And then we both step back and say, I didn't see it in this way, so thank you for bringing that up. Or they'll say the same thing, that's not how I saw it. And, we give each other advice. It's kind of give or take. But it's more of like an open dialogue, as opposed to, you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't go there, or, that type of situation. But, it's a process. And, it's, once again, every child's different, and they develop different, and they have different interests and different capabilities to understand what's right and wrong. But I think it's about conversation, and opening that, that dialogue, and having them kind of give you the answer, as opposed to you giving it to them, having them realize the scenario, to kind of step back and say, hey, I think you're right. This is maybe not the right choice, or I should have thought about this a little bit more before I did it, or before I chose to, interact with this person, or, because we never want our kids to get their feelings hurt, for sure, especially when it comes to relationships.
So you don't push back against, like, if they do something you don't like, for example, or not so much that you don't like it, but maybe you don't approve of a certain lifestyle. But it's more of, you would talk to them about it, like, why, you know why are you doing that? Well, not why are you doing this, but why is this so important to you, and what do you get out of it, and how is it benefiting you? So it's more of like more conversation, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely more of a conversation, because I mean, I could sit there and tell them blue in the face and tell them how I think this is wrong, but they're going to disagree, and they're going to go do it anyway. I mean, we were kids, we were young adults, we were, stupid teenagers, or just, made not the best choices at that time. But, again, you have to understand that you're dealing with, a different mentality. You're dealing with a young adult. I mean, or, what did I do when I was 15? Or what did my 15-year-old self think, or my 16 or 20-year-old self think? It's definitely not what, my brain thinks now. obviously, but it's more of a dialogue, absolutely.
So now what about the parents that are like, do as I say. you know, because I said so. That's why, that's how I was raised because I said so. So what do you say to those parents?
I say, I definitely recall those days because, again, that's the way I was raised. It wasn't, you didn't ask why, you just knew. And they gave you that look, and there was no questioning that look. But again, it's about, different times, different generations. And it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. But at the same time, again, put yourself in their shoes, put yourself in, at that 15-year-old mentality that you were at 15, and when thought that you had the worst parent in the world, or the meanest parent in the world, and look at it now as a young adult or as an adult and a parent and say, I remember this, and kind of weigh out and just have that open dialogue. But again, I was raised like that too. It's because I said so. But now, pretty much actually just dissect that because I said so. But what does that mean? How does that look like? What's the end result? What is that? Because I said so, because you said so, because you're an adult or you're a parent, or, again, I think we live in such a different world now that, you know, you can't, they really want that why. They really want it, descriptive enough to have them understand. And even if you said it's because X, Y, and Z, they're still going to go experiment. They're still going to go see what it's all about. So, again, it's about letting them understand the cause and effect and having them kind of be responsive. But I'm not saying don't put, any kind of boundaries or rules, because I think it's important to have boundaries. It's important to understand, that these are your parameters, as you're still a young adult and not able to make all the decisions. But it's important, if they learn it now, later on in life, they're going to be able to decipher what's right from wrong, and making, decisions that work best for them, so to speak.
So it's sort of like, letting them, should they hit rock bottom, letting them hit rock bottom, letting the consequences come to them as opposed to preventing it.
um Pretty much. And again, this is, all in hypothetical situations, that if
Yeah.
it's, life or death, of course you're going to step in. I mean, rock bottom for you is not the same rock bottom for me. And, it's different for different people. But at the same time, is always being vigilant. I mean, you're not going to see them go completely, nosedive, and just watch it kind of collide and into that, that nosedive. But as the plane, or as this individual is going down, you can, again, have that open dialogue and saying, hey, I've noticed that, this and this and this is occurring. You realize that it's pushing you further away from what you originally wanted to do, or it's making you, not be with the friends that you were with before, or not, spend as much time with family or sports or whatever it was that they enjoyed before. And just say, you know, is this the different direction you want to take, and kind of, again, have them give you the response of why this isn't the right direction, or why this is better than going the other direction for them, and have them kind of, realize the whole scenario, as opposed to you being the dictator and saying this is the right way, because honestly, I don't really know that we even know what the right way is. I mean, how did we find our way? I mean, we had some support, obviously, but there was a lot of things we tested the waters on, for sure, even though we were told because I said so.
All right. Interesting. Interesting. All right. So I know we're having a lot of fun, but we got to start to wind things down. So, do you have any final words of advice that you'd like to share? Any parting words of wisdom?
Just again, to recap, just be very supportive. Open dialogue is very, very important. And again, just, I'm not saying be their best friend, because it's also important to have that, parent, child relationship, or for sure, but just boundaries, and just listening. Just be a good listener. Be a good listener so that you can be as supportive as possible. And if you don't have the tools, or if you don't have the answers, it's okay, and let them know that, hey, I don't know this, because you're human as well. It's important that they understand that you also, are not, full of all this wealth of information, that you too need to go, sometimes, and take a step back and kind of do your own research and your own, soul searching. It's important.
Awesome, awesome. All right, Claudia, thank you so much for that. And thank you for this refreshing conversation today. So
Thank you for having me. I
I'm gonna
appreciate it.
gonna put up your banner here. All right, you guys. So you can find Claudia on social media if you have any questions that you want to talk to her about, anything that you want to share. You can reach out to her on Facebook and Instagram. So those are her main points of contact right now. So if there's any questions, any comments, if there's something maybe you want to pick her brain about, so I encourage you to reach out to her. Her contact information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. So I definitely encourage you to reach out to her. You could pick her brain. You could ask her for advice. You can any kind of scenarios. Maybe she can give you some solutions. So if there's for the parents out there, or anybody out there, maybe you need some words of wisdom for yourself, I definitely encourage you to reach out to Claudia. And right now, you can just reach her on Facebook and Instagram, and her information is at the bottom of your screen right now. And for those of you watching this on our YouTube channel, the information is also in the description. All right, so Claudia, thank you again, and
Thank you.
thank you so much for joining me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and enjoy your evening. And again, any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to help as much as I can.
As much as she can. Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. So I'm just going to put up her information one more time for a few more seconds. So those of you watching, her information is there. All right, Claudia, I'm going to place you backstage. All right, you guys, and it is just you and me. So I'm going to put up my banner, and I'm going to try to get just be mindful of the time. All right, but yes, but we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, wherever you are watching this episode right now, whatever platform, whatever website, wherever you are watching this episode, I encourage you to check out our platform for more videos and clips, and don't forget to follow us. And while you're at it, let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below, or in the comment thread. And if you happen to be watching this on our website, send us an email, send us a message. Let us know what you thought about this episode as well. And as a reminder, this web series is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you would like to learn more about our company, our services, the things that we have to offer, our information is at the bottom of your screen right now. But I will say our website. Our website is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And I also encourage you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. You will receive exclusive offers, promotions, and discounts when you sign up for either list or both, either or both. So I definitely encourage you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. Those links are at the bottom of your screen right now. And for those of you watching on YouTube, I caught myself on YouTube. It is also in our description. And I'm just going to get this last message in before we close.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider making a donation to our company. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, put on productions like this web series, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. Note: we're a for-profit company. We're not a charity. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. So now, I am now signing off. Bye.